Imagine this. You wake up one day, and everything feels off. The world around you hums with a strange, almost mechanical rhythm. You go through the motions, check your phone, scroll through endless feeds, consume bite-sized entertainment, and nod along to the same tired narratives. But deep down, something gnaws at you. A quiet voice whispers, "This isn't life. This isn't freedom." You look around and see people chasing happiness in all the wrong places. They're addicted to validation, enslaved by convenience, and numbed by distractions. They work jobs they hate to buy things they don't need, all while being told this is the path to fulfillment. And yet the more they chase, the emptier they feel. The more they consume, the hungrier they become. Here's the paradox. Society claims to value strength, independence, and success. It glorifies self-made individuals and celebrates resilience. But beneath the surface, it seems to reward conformity, dependency, and mediocrity. Why is that? Why does the very system that praises strength seem to thrive on keeping you weak? Think about it. From the moment you're born, you're handed a script. Go to school, get a job, follow the rules, and don't ask too many questions. You're taught to fit in, to avoid rocking the boat, to seek approval. But what happens when you start to question the script? What happens when you dare to step off the well-trodden path? You're met with resistance, subtle at first, then overwhelming. Friends and family warn you to be realistic. The media bombards you with messages that you're not enough unless you buy this product, look this way, or achieve that status. The system rewards compliance and punishes dissent. It's as if there's an invisible force working tirelessly to keep you small, docile, and dependent. But here's the unsettling question. What if this isn't an accident? What if society needs you to stay weak? What if your strength, your independence, your ability to think for yourself is seen as a threat to the very fabric of the system? And what if by staying weak you're not just betraying yourself, you're perpetuating a cycle that keeps everyone trapped? The tension builds. The questions multiply. You feel the weight of something vast and invisible pressing down on you. But this isn't just about society. It's about you. It's about the choices you make, the beliefs you hold, and the life you're living. What if the first step to breaking free isn't fighting the system? It's understanding how it works. What if the key to reclaiming your strength lies in unraveling the hidden forces that have been shaping you all along? The journey begins here. But be warned, once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And once you start asking these questions, there's no turning back. To understand why society encourages you to stay weak, we must first confront an uncomfortable truth. Weakness is profitable. Dependency is sustainable. Conformity is controllable. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a system that has evolved over centuries, rooted in psychological manipulation, philosophical oversight, and economic necessity. Let's start with psychology. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." This avoidance is the cornerstone of societal control. The modern world thrives on keeping you distracted, fragmented, and disconnected from your inner self. Why? Because a person who is self-aware, who has confronted their shadow and integrated their flaws, is a person who cannot be easily manipulated. They are a threat to the status quo. Think about it. The moment you turn inward, you begin to question the narratives you've been fed. You start to see through the illusions of consumerism, the emptiness of social validation, and the futility of chasing external success. But society doesn't want that. It wants you to stay on the surface, to keep consuming, to keep striving for goals that are never truly yours. Now consider philosophy. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the dangers of herd morality, a system of values that prioritizes obedience and mediocrity over individuality and greatness. He saw how society rewards those who conform and punishes those who dare to stand apart. Nietzsche's concept of the last man, a passive, complacent figure who seeks only comfort and security, feels eerily prophetic in today's world. The last man doesn't create, doesn't rebel, doesn't dream. He simply exists, content to follow the crowd. But why does this happen? Why does society seem to favor the last man over the visionary, the rebel, the thinker, The answer lies in power. A society built on control needs individuals who are easy to manage. It needs people who are too busy chasing external rewards to question the system. It needs you to believe that your worth is tied to your productivity, your possessions, your social status. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, saw this dynamic clearly. He believed that human desire is infinite and insatiable, and that society exploits this by creating endless cycles of want and consumption. You're told that happiness is just one purchase, one promotion, one relationship away. But it never is. And so, you keep chasing, keep striving, keep feeling inadequate. This isn't just philosophical musing, it's a psychological trap. Cognitive biases like the hedonic treadmill ensure that no matter how much you achieve, you'll always want more. Social conditioning teaches you to seek approval and avoid risk. Neurological studies show that the dopamine hits from social media likes and online shopping are designed to keep you hooked, not fulfilled. And then, there's the economic angle. A society built on consumerism needs consumers. It needs people who are perpetually dissatisfied, who believe they need the next big thing to be happy. It needs workers who are too tired, too stressed, too distracted to question their circumstances. It needs you to stay weak because weakness is profitable. But here's the twist. This system isn't maintained by some shadowy cabal. It's perpetuated by all of us. Every time we choose convenience over creativity, approval over authenticity, comfort over courage, we reinforce the very forces that keep us weak. The question is, how did we get here? And more importantly, how do we break free? The consequences of a society that encourages weakness are not always visible, but they are everywhere. They seep into your relationships, your work, your sense of self. They shape the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you live. And the most insidious part? You might not even realize it's happening. Take your relationships, for example. When society conditions you to seek external validation, it warps your ability to form genuine connections. You become more concerned with how others perceive you than with who you truly are. You mold yourself to fit their expectations, sacrificing authenticity for approval. Over time, this erodes your sense of identity. You forget what it feels like to be fully yourself, to connect with others on a deep, unfiltered level. Then there's your work. The modern workplace is a breeding ground for dependency. You're encouraged to specialize, to become a cog in the machine. But in doing so, you lose touch with your creativity, your autonomy, your ability to think independently. You become reliant on the system for your sense of purpose and security. And when the system inevitably fails you, when you're laid off, burned out, or replaced, you're left feeling lost and powerless. But perhaps the most devastating consequence is what this does to your psyche. When you're constantly told that you're not enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not attractive enough, you internalize that message. You start to believe it, and that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You stop taking risks, stop pursuing your dreams, stop believing in your own potential. You settle for less because you've been conditioned to believe that's all you deserve. This isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a societal one. When individuals are weak, society as a whole suffers. Creativity stagnates, innovation dwindles, progress slows. We become a culture of followers, not leaders, of consumers, not creators, of spectators, not participants, and yet the system thrives. It thrives because it's designed to keep you distracted, to keep you chasing goals that are always just out of reach. It thrives because it feeds on your insecurities, your fears, your desires. It thrives because it's easier to control a population that's weak, dependent, and disengaged. But here's the thing. You don't have to play along. You don't have to accept this as your reality. The first step to breaking free is recognizing the unseen forces that are shaping your life. The second step is understanding how they work. And the third step, the most important one, is choosing to do something about it. Breaking free from a system designed to keep you weak is not easy. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to question everything you've been taught. But it is possible, and it begins with a radical shift in perspective. The first step is to reclaim your autonomy. This means taking responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, and your life. It means recognizing that you are not a passive victim of circumstance, but an active participant in your own destiny. As Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, famously said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Start by identifying the areas of your life where you've been conditioned to conform. Where are you seeking external validation? Where are you sacrificing your authenticity for approval? Where are you settling for less than you deserve? These are the places where you need to rebel. Next, cultivate self-awareness. This is where shadow work, a concept introduced by Carl Jung, becomes essential. Shadow work involves confronting the parts of yourself that you've been taught to reject, your fears, your insecurities, your flaws. By integrating these aspects of yourself, you become whole. And when you're whole, you're no longer easily manipulated. You're no longer dependent on external validation to feel worthy. Another crucial step is to embrace discomfort. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens when you're willing to face your fears, take risks, and challenge the status quo. As Friedrich Nietzsche put it, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. This might mean quitting a job that's draining your soul, ending a toxic relationship, or stepping away from social media. It might mean pursuing a passion that scares you, speaking your truth even when it's unpopular, or simply saying no to things that don't align with your values. But rebellion isn't just about saying no. It's also about saying yes. Yes to creativity, to curiosity, to connection. Yes to the things that light you up, that make you feel alive, that remind you of who you truly are. Finally, surround yourself with people who inspire you to be your best self. Seek out mentors, friends, and communities that encourage growth, authenticity, and independence. As the saying goes, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. Breaking free is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey. It's a daily practice of choosing courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, and growth over stagnation. But with each step, you reclaim a little more of your power. And with each act of rebellion, you weaken the forces that seek to keep you weak. Here is the ultimate truth, the revelation that changes everything. Your weakness is not your fault, but your strength is your responsibility. Society may have conditioned you to stay small, to conform, to depend on external validation. But it cannot take away your innate capacity for growth, for courage, for transformation. That power lies within you, waiting to be awakened. The final realization is this: the system thrives on your belief that you are powerless. It thrives on your fear of standing out, your fear of failure, your fear of rejection. But these fears are not truths. They are illusions. They are stories you've been told, stories you've internalized, stories you can rewrite. Consider this. Every great thinker, every revolutionary, every visionary who has ever challenged the status quo faced the same fears you do. They doubted themselves. They faced resistance. They stumbled and fell. But they kept going. They chose to believe in their own potential, even when the world told them otherwise. And in doing so, they changed not only their own lives, but the course of history. You have that same power. You have the ability to question, to create, to rebel. You have the ability to redefine what it means to live a meaningful life. But it starts with a single radical act: the decision to stop outsourcing your worth. Stop looking for validation in likes, in promotions, in material possessions. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to be great. Stop believing that your weaknesses define you. Instead, turn inward. Reconnect with your deepest desires, your truest self, your highest potential. This is not a call to reject society entirely. It's a call to engage with it on your own terms, to contribute not out of obligation, but out of passion, to create not for approval, but for the joy of creation itself, to live not as a passive consumer, but as an active participant in the unfolding of your own story. And here's the most profound truth of all. When you choose to embrace your strength, you don't just free yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage becomes a beacon, your authenticity a mirror, your rebellion a ripple that spreads far beyond your own life. So ask yourself, what would it look like to live as the hero of your own story? What would it feel like to stop waiting for permission and start claiming your power? What kind of world could you create if you dared to believe in your own potential? The answers to these questions are not found in society's script. They are found within you. And the moment you start listening to that inner voice, the moment you start acting on its wisdom, is the moment everything changes. This is your invitation. This is your awakening. This is your rebellion. The choice is yours.